A bit of a different vibe today. It's a little less formal, a little more off the cuff because I last night, Saturday night, just finished the Seance of Blake Manor, and it's one of my favorite games of the year, and I think it deserves way more attention. So I just wanted to talk about it, get the vibes out there, let people know that this game is there and that they should go play it. And during this whole video, I'll only be showing gameplay from the first 2 or so hours of the game. It won't be anything spoilery, so don't worry about that. Okay, so, you play as Declan Ward, a private investigator from Dublin, who receives a letter in the mail along with a deposit to take a case. That case is at Blake Manor, which is in a more rural area of Ireland. There's a bunch of guests staying at the hotel that is on the manor's property, and you get an anonymous letter telling you that one of the guests, Evelyn Dean, has gone missing, and everyone else there says that she checked out, but the person who wrote the letter knows for a fact that she never left the property. And it gets even more incredible when you get there because of the seance, and all of the guests at this hotel are magical people from various faiths, cultures, and styles who are there to perform this seance. That the goal is to have a conversation with a ghost for the first time in history. Really, really cool setup. Really opens up a lot of doors. Declan is, of course, a skeptic about magic. It wouldn't be a story about, magic and Irish folklore and stuff if it didn't get even more interesting. That's actually one of the main things about the game that I think is so cool. It is so steeped in Ireland at every single step of the way. There's a druid character, there's a bunch of other characters who are represent various different parts of Ireland, and the folklore, the Irish folklore in the game is like really the main central piece that kind of ties everything together. And I can't get too into that without getting into spoilers, of course. But it's really cool. So you get to the hotel at 11 p.m., and your first goal is to find evidence that Evelyn Dean is still there. This section really serves to like showcase how the game works and like the way that time passing works, because that's one of the things is this game has a passage of time in game, and you can fail, you can lose the game because you run out of time. There's actually a lot of fail states in the game. I found two of them during this opening segment, and only one other one further on in the game because I accidentally walked into a room that someone was in and I didn't realize they were in there. The seance is happening on Sunday night. You need to solve everything by the time the seance happens. It's really well done. Most actions take a minute, but there are some that take longer. Especially later in the game, you'll have some things that you need to do to resolve certain storylines, and they'll have you do these activities that take 15, 20, sometimes 30 minutes in order to actually accomplish the goals that you have. So you really need to figure out how to, make all this stuff work together and all that jazz. This has this like flow chart, which is very reminiscent of Outer Wilds. If you've played Outer Wilds, you'll know what I'm talking about. This flow chart is very reminiscent of that. Everything's kind of connected, and you see how things are connected. And as you solve the mysteries, you form hypotheses, and these hypotheses are done in this like, put the word into the slot thing using the evidence that you found so far. And that reminded me a lot of Return of the Obra Dinn and Chance of Sonar. And all three of these games that I've mentioned are like all-time favorites of mine. So you can understand why I'm so excited about this. So you solve this, this opening puzzle about making sure you know for a fact Evelyn Dean is still there. When you find out she is, you go rest in your room, and the next morning you wake up, and it was a little overwhelming because they kind of introduce every single character at once, and you're just like, it serves a purpose because there's a lot of these characters that you will not probably talk to again for a while, at least if you play the game like I did, where I kind of went character by character until I hit a wall and then went and talked to another character. So it was helpful to have this like baseline understanding of each character because there were some characters I really only spoke to on the final day, you know. So that was really helpful. But in the moment, you're like, oh dear God. And this is all during a second kind of like lock you into this area, and you have to do this before you can move on type deal. Once that's over, you're free to explore most of the property. There's some areas that are only open, day 2, day 3. There's some areas that are only open certain times of day. You know how this kind of game works. For the most part, you're free to explore. And one of the most impressive things to me about this was how little, given how small of a team that made this game was, how little I ran into moments where Declan knew something he should not have known yet. It only happened twice, to my understanding, if I remember correctly. Once was in the first like 2 hours of gameplay. I'm not going to show it because I think this is kind of spoilery, but I did a thing and Declan named a character that I had not heard the name of yet and was like, oh, they did this or whatever. Within like 15 minutes after that, I got that information of that character and I was like, oh, the game thought I would have that information before I found this, but I found it first, which was kind of fun, but also, you know, a little immersion breaking. And there was one time at the very end of the game where I found a locked door and the description for the door said that it matches the symbol on a key that one of the characters gave me, and I had not received that key yet. So I knew where to find the key for this door after that, which was kind of funny as well. But at that point in the game, you kind of have everything down and you know what you're doing, and you've kind of solved a lot of the mysteries. So it's not too crazy. You know, there was only a couple places this key could have been, but it would have been nice to not have that happen. But granted, like I said, small team. The fact that it only happened twice is really impressive to me, especially with how much content there is in this game. Um, I forget the exact number, but there's something like 20 people to talk to, and all of them are potential culprits of Evelyn Dean's disappearance. And part of your job as this investigator is to figure out, you know, who they are, if they know Evelyn Dean, if they, you know, have interacted with her, what they do, why they're there, what their goals are. Um, and You actually have a list of all of them. Each one of these characters has a mystery associated with them, and you solve all of them if you do. I mean, you don't have to; you can fail, um, but you solve all of them throughout the game. By the time that this key thing happened, I only had a couple characters. I hadn't fully explored their storyline yet, so I would have figured it out anyway. But you know, with this like culprit list, as you learn information about the kidnapper or killer, you know, you don't know what happened to Evelyn Dean at the start of the game, and the game lets you mark off people and it lets you unmark people too. And at first, that really worried me because I was like, oh man, it's gonna be this thing where like we get told blatantly false information about someone and then we have to figure out later. No, I was able to, when the moment came where I had to accuse someone, uh I knew who it was. Like and I was able to do that with the in-game, like this person didn't do it, this person didn't do it, maybe this person did, you know. Like I was able to use that in-game system. So it didn't have any like annoying surprises that could be a cheap way to do that. So that was really nice. But yeah, I just really liked the vibe of the game. The art style is really nice. And I thought it was so funny because this is published by Raw Fury, I think they're called. Yeah, Raw Fury. And they published blueprints. These two games have absolutely no connection on the development side, but their art styles are shockingly similar. I just thought that was kind of funny. I like this publisher really likes this art style. These like first person stylized games. Oh, there's tons of voice acting. Obviously not every line is voiced. That would have been a crazy undertaking for such a small studio because that's just pure time and money that they probably do not have. But every single character has a really solid vocal performance. Their first line, like the start of their story, and the end of their story are fully voiced, and then like some important moments here and there are also fully voiced as well. They're all characters that are really interesting. It's one of those games where like you'll meet someone and you'll be like, I don't know if I vibe with you, but by the time you finish their story, you're like, oh hell yeah, that was really cool, that was really interesting, I really like you, I'm glad that I was able to figure this whole thing out. I don't know how many true endings there are. I got the best ending. There's a lot of places you can fail. If you get kicked out of the manor for any reason, like if someone catches you snooping, um you know, that's a fail state, but you just reload, you know, to right before. There's definitely ways that you can end the game and not have enough information to actually finish the game, which I think is really cool. You also have a lot of extra time, so I wouldn't really worry about that. I kind of messed around for a while and I still had like 2 hours at the end of the game, the 2 in-game hours that I could just do whatever with. But yeah, really great game. I think that if you're someone who likes this kind of game, like these games where you're kind of unraveling a mystery throughout the game, you know, your Outer Wilds, Return of the Obra Dinn, Chance of Sonar, Forgotten City, stuff like that, you'll really like this game. This game is for you if that's something that you're into. Even if it's not, I think this game has a lot of structure that like something like an Outer Wilds doesn't have, and I think that that is particularly useful if you are someone who doesn't really vibe with that type of game typically. I think the Seance of Blake Manor is a game that is genuinely potential game of the year material. It's a small team. It's really well made. Everything about it, I think, is just wonderful. Like I said, I ran into a couple issues, but none of them hurt my enjoyment of the game, and none of them were like the game being broken anyway. It was just like, oh, I did a sequence of events that no one in testing did. I hope you play it. If you like this video and you want to see more, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. If you want to hear more about some lesser known games that I think are also top 10 2025 video games, check out my last video where I talked about how Sword of the Sea and Keeper kind of exist in this tradition that Journey started back in 2012. Yeah, that was the year. I'll catch you next time. Play the Seance of Blake Manor, please.